You had a question.
Well, my question was also about Captain America.
Yes.
At the time, in the 40s, Captain America, the red, white, and blue Avenger, who was the spirit of the country, was very strong. Now, what is Captain America today? Can we still? I know they're making a Captain America picture, and of course the character was revived back in the 60s.
There is no Captain America today, in my opinion. Too much to lose, and we've got too many terrible weapons to use. So to fight is unthinkable, and maybe in developing those weapons, we might have done a good thing by subtly confronting each other and saying that to do a thing like that is inhuman. Let's all try to be human. And I think what we're witnessing today in Russia and Lithuania and all these countries is a kind of a dissolution of that rigid, turbulent, and perhaps dangerous nationalism that existed in my generation when I was younger. And you could feel it. You could feel it in the very air that the will of self. In other words, I'm an American, see? And nobody's going to say that about America, and nobody's going to do that to America, even if I die for it. I'll defend it. And of course, we all had that will, and it was the same way in every country in the world. And that kind of thing is gone, and we're suddenly discovering each other. And I think that's just wonderful. And when I saw those Chinese just trying to get on that pole, acting just like Americans, it was a wonderful, wonderful thing to watch, despite the fact that it ended in tragedy. But for one moment, they were American. They were American college kids trying to climb a pole. And somebody went and spoiled it. And perhaps when that kind of an element disappears too, and it will, it can't last. It's human. Maybe something else will have to take its place because the people will demand it. I think in the end that the world will become American. And we'll all begin to understand each other, just like we have over here. Americans represent the entire world. The United States has every nationality you can think of within its boundaries. And here we are getting along just fine. And why it can't happen in the rest of the world, I don't see why it can't, really. And when it does happen, when the rest of the world become Americanized, which it already is. I mean, if somebody, a fellow like Deng in China can't last forever, and when his kind passes, I think the demands of the people will overwhelm whoever wants to take his place, and you'll see a democratization. It's just my own personal view, a democratization of China.
Let's hope you're right.
Well, I think we can probably take your personal view with as having a lot of value, since in a lot of your work you've presaged things that have gone on. You've invented gimmicks that, like all science fiction writers have. You've invented gimmicks that have come true. I was told you did a newspaper strip called Sky Masters.
Yes.
In the late 50s, which presaged the moonwalk and a lot of what's happening in the space program.
I presaged the atomic bomb 2 years before it was built, because a fellow named Nikola Tesla was working on it in Hungary. And he was experimenting with atomics. He was a physicist. And so I forget in what story I put it in, but there it was. I saw it in the paper and I used it. I used it in my own way, and I got a good story out of it. 2 years later, we had the real thing.
Did anyone come and pay you a visit after that came out? Because some writers...
Yes,
did
they sent me a letter from the FBI.
What happened?
Nothing.
What did the letter say?
It was just an inquiry, you know. And I had to explain that it was all fictional, and that it was my version of the thing. And there was no mention of an atomic bomb in any newspaper or anything, except that this fella, Nikola Tesla, it was in a magazine. It was some obscure magazine that I read it in, was experimenting with atomic physics.
But when the FBI paid you a call, did you think something's up somewhere? They're making one of these things?
No,
Well,
I was just annoyed.
Yeah.
You know.
There was another fight coming by.
You know, I hadn't done anything. I just did this story, and it was pure fiction, of course. But it sold well, and that was my job, just selling magazines. So I'd done my job. I would presage. I would constantly read newspapers and magazines, and I would presage the chopper, the helicopter, and a lot of the gimmicks we have today. I would have them 2 years ahead because I visualize them that way. And of course, mine didn't look exactly the way ours would emerge, but the principle was the same, and they almost did look the same, really. So I was kind of proud of that because it made good story, and I was doing my job.
Let me read off some titles to you, and tell me where, if you can, they came from, the characters in the books. Challenges of the Unknown.
Challenges of the Unknown?
Yeah.
They came from their own particular time. They were post-war characters. And what the Challenges of the Unknown was saying is, where are we going now? And that was a question I asked in all those stories. And in the Challenges, I put in the gimmicks. I put in the gimmicks and the machines that we already had, but I took them 2 or 3 stages ahead as to what we might have. Say, I would take them 5 years ahead, and if we had certain generators or something like that, I would make a super generator of some kind and have my story revolve around that. What would it do to human beings? Perhaps it would summon aliens from some foreign planet. Gave us the power to do that. And of course my aliens weren't always hostile. The aliens people used to draw, well, they'd eat people, they'd look like frogs, and you know, and they'd never buy you a malted milk or anything like that. But I see aliens very much like us. If they're intelligent, they'll do the things we do.
Or they won't.
Or, you know, it's their choice, I guess.
One of the true breakthrough comics from Marvel was Spider-Man, which you created.
Yes.
Where did he come from?
Spider-Man is a city character.
Yeah.
Show me the perfect character for a city. A guy who will climb all over New York. And that's what Spider-Man does. He's a guy that climbs up and down buildings, he can do it faster and without fear of falling, and he's in his element. He's exactly in his element, where he should be, in a city where you have tall buildings, and he doesn't have to jump them in one leap like Superman, but he does it in his own way. He can crawl into places where nobody else can, and what may take you a week to do in New York, he can do it in an hour or something like that. And Spider-Man was perfect in that environment.
He was also, I think, well, two things, very much a product of his time as well, because that was the Kennedy period, more or less.
Yes.
And the whole premise of Kennedy's philosophy was that with great power comes great responsibility toward the world, toward those who aren't as well equipped as you are, which goes to the heart of Spider-Man as well.
Well, believe me, I admired Kennedy like everybody else did at the time. But I wasn't thinking in terms of Kennedy.
Sure.
I was thinking in terms of adventure.
Yeah.
And orientation.
Of course, at the same time, he was a superhero who, for the first time, would get colds and had to worry about his Aunt May all the time. And
oh, well, you have to make him human in some way.
right.
You can't rob a man of his humanity. You can wear any kind of a suit you want and call yourself by any other name you like. But when you take that suit off, see, and you take a bath, see, you come out, whoever you are, as yourself. And of course, Spider-Man is the same way. He's like all the rest of his brothers. See, they're instinctive showmen. I think that all human beings are instinctive showmen. Of course, I am too, and I thank the Lord that I had the opportunity to use my life in that manner, as a showman, not maybe across a stage, but maybe across a comic book, several comic books, maybe more than that. And I've had a wonderful time with it because it turned out that that's what I really wanted to do. I was performing. Spider-Man is performing.